morning, everybody. Welcome to TLC Live as every Wednesday. ¿Cómo estás, Orlando?
Fine. Tell everybody what time you showed up today.
Well, I showed up on time. I mean, it was 10:58.
Yeah, right. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the program. We have two great guests this morning. One of them is a former executive director that helped us launch the political action committee known as Texas Latino Conservatives. So we're going to jump right into it because, again, today everybody decided to schedule board meetings on Wednesdays.
Why? I mean,
I don't know.
you need to tell them that they need to change that because you need to be here at the program. We're still on early voting.
Yes.
It's gonna finish.
Did you vote? Yeah, you said
Oh,
you did.
already. I voted in Valentine's Day.
Okay.
Yeah, I voted in Valentine's Day was a very special day for me. I voted. I did a facial, a lot of things for myself. Love for myself.
Okay.
But early voting is still going on, and it's gonna be till this Friday, February the 25th, and elections is next week, Tuesday.
Yes. And then we have some exciting stuff coming up on the calendar. April 5th, we're going to be in San Antonio at the Whitty Museum honoring Texas Tejanos. As everybody knows, April 6th is Tejano Day in Texas, signed by the governor through a joint resolution last year in the Texas legislature. So on April 5th, during Fiesta, we will be at the Whitty Museum 11 to 1 in the afternoon honoring our tough Tejano. Then in Houston on Cinco de Mayo, we're going to have an exciting event at the Kirby Ice House located at Interstate 10 and Gessner.
Oh, now it's for sure.
And we're going to have a great Tejano performer. We can't reveal the name yet because we haven't signed the contract, but it's going to be a lot of fun. So mark both of those dates on your calendar. April 5th, if you're watching us in San Antonio and surrounding counties around Bexar County, come join us at the Whitty Museum. If you want more information, go to www.toughtejano.com. That's toughtejano.com. And the Cinco de Mayo event will be on our website coming up pretty soon with our entertainer. We will probably provide a couple of adult beverages for you. It should be a fun night. So make sure to put those on your calendar. As Andrea says, before you do that, make sure you go vote.
Exactly. You have 3 more days early voting, and then Tuesday, March 1st, is the primaries. But our next guest is Michelle Gamboa, and her elections is not the same time. So she's gonna tell us also about that.
Correct. That means Michelle is not in a primary. She's up in a municipal election, which
Correct.
sometimes they're held in May and sometimes they're held in November. Hers is going to be in May. She's up in the Longview area of Texas.
And she's running for Longview City Council District 5th.
District 5.
Oh, 5.
Yeah. Michelle, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great. How are all of you guys?
Well, we're better than you. I guess you're sitting in a parking lot. You said you're going to go see somebody that's kind of important in the state.
Yes, I'm going to the Get Out the Vote rally with Governor Abbott here in Marshall.
Okay, great.
Well, that's awesome. Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you guys, and thank you for teaching me so much. I really appreciate the Texas Latinos Conservatives for teaching me so much about being involved and looking at policies and making sure that we're just having our voice heard on every level of government.
Yeah, and as I said earlier, Michelle was very involved in helping launch Texas Latino Conservatives. She was our second executive director. Our executive directors have gone on to do great things, both Sonia and
That's
Michelle.
true.
But you know, Michelle has been active before she got involved with our PAC. She actually was on the ground 4 years ago helping Governor Abbott, and she continues to be politically active. She's moved up to Longview and is helping build her family business. And the interesting thing about Michelle is, like me and like Andrea, she's an immigrant from Juarez, Mexico, right? And an Aggie. So tell us a little bit about Michelle for those that haven't met you yet, Michelle.
Well, my name is Michelle Gamboa. I came to the United States when I was 7 years old from Juarez, Chihuahua, which borders El Paso. We came to the beautiful town known as Longview, Texas. I graduated from Spring Hill High School and then went on to graduate from Texas A&M in 2016. Whoop. After that, I worked for Governor Abbott and did some work for Senator Hughes, and then God opened the doors for me to work for the back then the Texas Latino GOP PAC, which is now the Texas Latino Conservatives, and just worked on Hispanic engagement, making sure that we're talking to Latinos about having their voice heard through the voting process and through being involved on all forms of government, as well as in PACs or other membership groups where people that are like-minded can come together and make choices. I'm also a child advocate. I serve on various boards in my community, and I just really have a passion for being involved, bringing everybody together, and making sure that we're all working towards our goals.
And Michelle, let me just ask you, because I like to ask our guests, especially those that are, that are immigrants, do you see the realignment in Texas of Hispanics voting conservative the same way I do? I just want to get your perspective. What do you think is driving Latinos and Hispanics, particularly young people, to start considering Republican candidates and start espousing their conservative views?
I think a lot of it has to do, first of all, with family, and then freedom as well as faith. I think for a lot of Latinos, especially young Latinos, we're really looking forward to maybe starting a family one day, as well as starting our own business. And I think a lot of conservative and Republican values align with us because we want less regulations in our government so that it's easier for us to conduct business. We want the right to worship freely and be able to make choices for our children. I think as Latinos, that's one thing we learned real quick, was that if you're not God, then you're not telling Latino parents what to do with their children. That's one thing I learned with my parents. And so I think that for us, that's really important. And freedom, that's why a lot of us, I came from Juarez, but, tú eres de Cuba, hay venezolanos, hay gente de otras partes, people from all over the world who literally leave their grandparents, their aunts, uncles, families behind to come to America for opportunity. So I think for a lot of us, it's important to live in a country that really promotes freedom and opportunity, because that's why we left our countries of origin, a lot of us. And some are born here because their great grandparents or great grandparents made that choice for them.
Michelle, you're very, very young. I met you. I have the pleasure to meet you like more than 2 years ago, and when you were working at the PAC. And I remember that you were very involved, and you were always leader, and you were doing a lot of things for the community. But did you think, or you thought in that moment, that you wanted to run for office in your city?
I don't know if I had it in mind in that moment. I think I always made it a goal and a passion of mine to be a public servant, because I think it's important to, really serve the people that you work and live with. I thought that was doing that through nonprofit boards. So that's what I did right away. Got involved with the Longview Community Ministries, other things. I never really thought that it would be me running for office, but I'm really thankful that God has opened that door, and I'm ready. I'm a hard worker, and I want to represent the people that live in my area. Of course, we've talked about some state and national issues, but when it comes down to city council, I want to fight for the local issues that a city council candidate fights for. I really want to make sure that there's better infrastructure in my area. I live in District 5, which is primarily Spring Hill, a little bit of Longview, and a little bit of Pine Tree. And I want to bring more robust business this way to our area, as well as focusing on public safety and, making sure we're echoing those traditional values that make us so special in Longview, while also propelling us to the future.
Educate us in Longview, because I didn't know that Longview exists till I met you. And I didn't know what it was until I I traveled with Orlando.
Well, no, that's not true because she fell asleep between Dallas and Longview. I have documented evidence that she was zonked out.
Okay, so we went to an event, and yes, he was driving, and it was early in the morning, and we stopped first in Plano, Texas, and then we went to Longview. So it was a long trip. So that's why I fall asleep. But tell us about the Longview. Where is located, and what is the population, and what is the percentage of the Hispanic population also?
Okay. Longview is located in East and Tyler. We are a very diverse community. I think our Hispanic community is still growing. I think we're under 17%. So we're, and don't quote me on that. I should have looked that up before I got on here. But, Longview is known for the Great East Texas balloon races, as well as, it's rural. So we have a lot of farmers, a lot of people here who work with their hands. We have a lot of people in construction and roofing, teachers, things of that nature. So we're not urban, so we're not as big as quite the Houston area, but we're getting there.
Well, as what are the biggest issues in your district? In other words, is it infrastructure? Is it the quality of the roads? Like in Houston, for example, we're having a big crime wave because of what the commissioner's court did with the bail bond system. I don't know what it's like in your county. So, but what is the number one issue when you're out in the community talking to the constituents or potential voters or your taxpayers? What's the number one issue they talk to you about?
The number one issue I've heard right now is the road expansion on George Ritchie Road. So a couple of years ago, we opened up the George Ritchie Road to make it easier to make our way around town and for commerce to be done. So a lot of people have been bringing up issues with that, just making sure that the speed limit isn't raised, as well as roads. After we had the Great Snowmageddon that happened recently in Longview, a lot of our infrastructure got affected by that. So a lot of people in my area want to make sure that I'm advocating for a responsible maintenance budget to make sure that we're allocating the resources within our budget to keep our roads and infrastructure up to date. There's various issues just throughout the whole district, but those are some that I've really that I've heard. So.
Michelle, we have a comment from one of our viewers, and she said, well, register to vote and get involved in the process, educate yourself, and have your community needs at heart. So,
who's the comment from?
Maria Gordon.
Okay.
You know her?
Doesn't matter.
No.
Thank you, Maria.
No,
Appreciate
but maybe
it.
she maybe Michelle knows her, because sometimes people start commenting when they know the guest. So yes, very important to get involved, to go and vote. And talking about vote, so tell us about your race. I mean, what is the dates over there in an early voting? When is the elections over there?
Yeah, so April 19th to May 3rd is when you can vote early. And election day is on my birthday, May 7th. You can go to the Longview, Texas website to look up for the polling locations as they're being changed. And you can look up your voter registration status at greggcountyvotes.com.
How do you promote and motivate your community to get involved and to vote? And it's very important. When I came to this country in 1997, I got first my green card, and then as soon as I became a U.S. citizen, I started voting. But that's something that it was motivating myself, because I was in this country, and I wanna make a difference, and I wanna contribute to the country, that it gave me opportunities. So, but many people take this country for granted, and sometimes people that even were born in this country, they don't go and vote, they don't participate. So how do we change that?
We can change that in a lot of ways. You can get involved, by in your local county party. So the last couple of years I was involved as precinct chair or a volunteer. Volunteers, can come and go, and you can either door knock, phone bank, send mailers or letters out to remind people to go vote. As a precinct chair, you're in charge with making sure that you're organizing your precinct and getting voting information out to those in your area. So I would encourage someone to get involved in that way. as well as, maybe going to your local, city hall meetings when city council is meeting. Go to those meetings, listen to things that are going on in your city, commissioner's court. That's another great thing for constituents to go to, whether you live in East Texas or Houston. So there's a lot of ways to get involved in that way. I would encourage you to, if you're Latino watching this, to get involved with the Texas Latino Conservatives. I think that was a great way for me to get involved. Is I learned a lot through some of the events that you guys did, and getting to network with some of those decision makers, because sometimes when you don't know something, you go through avenues, whether you research it, and really make yourself well versed on that. But when you have someone who's a policymaker making that decision, then you can take that into action and ask them, like, what was your thought process behind this? And get some more response from that. So I think it's important for people, to ask questions, but also maybe hold people accountable. We have a lot of great elected officials, and we also have people that need to be held accountable. And so I think that it's important for people to be involved in both spectrums.
Michelle, how many opponents do you have in that municipal race?
I have two other opponents.
Are you running in an open seat, or are you challenging an incumbent?
So our incumbent actually stepped down due to personal reasons, health reasons. So it's not my business to put his business out there. So he's a really close family friend. He did a great job. And I just hope that everybody prays for Mr. Wright and his family and keeps them in your prayers. They're really struggling with something health-wise right now. And we just thank him for the time that he served and done a great job. And I look forward to hopefully winning, the vote of the people in my area so that they can elect me.
Obviously, you've received some significant endorsements. Why don't you share some of those with us?
Sure. So one of my endorsements that I'm super proud of is, of course, the Texas Latino Conservatives. Thank you guys so much for endorsing me. It means a lot to me, especially after working so hard. No, I'm just kidding. But and Senator Brian Hughes, thank you, Senator Hughes, so much for endorsing me. It really means a lot to have you believe in me. Pastor Stanley Coffer has recently endorsed me as well with the out in Tyler. He's the president of the Texas Minority Coalition, and is also the president, I believe, of the African American Museum in Tyler. And I have a couple of other endorsements rolling out. I have a lot of teachers and community leaders who've endorsed me, but those are two that I'm really proud of. Or three
I'm
that I'm
glad
really proud of.
I'm glad you gave out a shout out to the Texas Minority Coalition. I've been to Tyler, I believe, where they've had some pretty sizable events sell out the room, and I've been invited to speak to them. It's a great organization. They're doing great work. So make sure you tell the pastor and tell everybody we said hello. But we think they're doing a phenomenal job up there, up in the Longview, Tyler area.
Michelle, what have been the biggest challenge? You're very young, and I know you've been getting involved with the community and in politics for many years, but what have been the biggest challenge for you when it comes to run for office? Because many people, I've been seeing lately that many people that doesn't have any political background are being decided to run for office. But, one thing is like, oh, I'm going to run for office, but it's a process, and you need to learn a lot of things, and you need to educate yourself in many, many, many things.
Yeah, so I've been involved in politics for over a decade, and it's definitely different running a PAC, a nonprofit organization, or a different candidate other than yourself. I think the biggest challenge has been talking about myself. I have no problem talking about CASA or other things that I love, but when it comes down to talking about myself, I'm not even a shy person, and I've realized I've gotten really nervous, as well as fundraising and just organizing things in general. So some of those have been challenges that we've done well at tackling. So, but with every challenge comes growth. So I'm looking forward to growing and learning how to do those things better, and as well as making sure that I'm listening to everyone in my area about what it is that they care about, so that I can act on it. So if you go to my website, michellegamboa.com, I actually have a form you can fill out, so that you can tell me what matters to you in District 5. So you can give me your information, and at the bottom of the contact form, it'll tell you a way to contact me, and it's on the landing page.
All right. Well, we know that you've got to step in and go visit with the governor for a little bit, but we do appreciate your time, Michelle, and we will have you back on the program before your May 5th election so that you can give us an
May
update
7th.
as to what's going on. So, anyway, why don't you tell us what our viewers can do for you to help you, and then date una despedida en español para que todo el mundo sepa que sí sabes hablar español.
Ok, pues muchas gracias a todos por ver a los Texas Latinos Conservatives hoy, este miércoles. Mi nombre es Michelle Gamboa y estoy corriendo para el Distrito 5 de Longview, Texas, para ser su próxima City Council person. De verdad, espero que voten por mí en esta próxima elección, que es mayo 7. I really want to tell everybody thank you so much for just your support. You can follow me on www.michellegamboa.com. Call me at 903-399-5656, or if you just Google me, everything about me is on the internet at this point. So I really want to hear what matters to you most. I would love to have some feedback, so you can leave it to me on my website. Thank you, Miss Maria, who commented in the comments, and to everybody else for watching this show and for supporting me on this journey. And more than anything, I just ask for your prayers. Thanks, Gigam.
All right. Well, thanks, Michelle. Have fun, and we'll talk to you soon. And then, all the way from Longview, I think we're going to go out to the Austin Lakeway area, right?
Yes, we
Is
have.
that right, Jenai? Are you? This is Jenai Aragona running for the 35th congressional district,
Correct.
and I think you're out of the Lakeway area around Austin, Texas. Is that correct?
I actually live downtown Austin,
Ah,
but the district runs all of East Austin. Yes.
gotcha. And I think I saw somewhere that you're a real estate agent in Texas, and your offices at one time were in the Lakeway area.
The office that I work out of is in Lakewood, correct? Yes.
Okay, good. Well, tell us a little bit about Jenai and what inspired you to run for public office to represent your fellow constituents in the 35th.
Sure. Well, I grew up in North Carolina. I've been in Texas since 1987. I married someone from McAllen, Texas. And that I was young, my first marriage, and we had one child. And I lived in McAllen for about 20 years before I moved to San Antonio and then here in Austin. Um, I went to school down in the valley at the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley. My degree was biology. I was pre-med. I was accepted to med school, ended up declining, but that was my educational background. And I stayed in the valley and ended up remarrying. And I was my husband at the time, we had a chain of Domino's pizza stores all along the Rio Grande, all the way as far as Del Rio, Texas, and did that for many, many years. And what prompted me to move to Austin is we were doing another franchise, and I had secured the rights to the entire state of Texas, and opened with my daughter. And then I got ovarian cancer, and I'm completely well now. But as many people say, when you go through something like cancer, it's life changing, and it was life changing for me in many good ways. It gave me lots of clarity in my life, and I decided to sell my business actually right before COVID hit. And I had been an investor in real estate for many years, and that's what prompted me to get my real estate license, is my passion for real estate. And so that's how I have my real estate license now. But in terms of what has made me want to run for office, many, many different things. You know, we live our lives, and we see how various political decisions impact our lives. And for me, they've been very profound. My sister in North Carolina in 19 was raped and murdered by what was referred to as boat people that Carter allowed to stay in this country. 3 years later, when I was living on the border of Texas in McAllen, I ended up having a stalker who legal in this country, who I woke to one morning sitting down next to my bed, staring at me, and proceeded to try to
Oh,
rape me.
oh my God.
I fortunately am a very strong and uh, I don't give up. So I ended up escaping, and then owning a business many years and seeing different various legislations impact businesses. So all those reasons and many more are why I'm very passionate. And I'm at a point in my life where, as I said, I had great clarity after my cancer. And I said, from this moment forward, if I get through this, I'm only going to do things I'm passionate about. I'm passionate about real estate. I love it. And I'm very passionate about making a difference, having an impact. And so that's why I decided to really start getting involved in politics.
So tell us about your issues, because I mean, it's a lot of things in your background, not only in the education, but also everything that happens to you with the cancer, with the stalker, and with the murder, the crime. And now we're seeing that you used to live in McAllen, the border crisis that we're living right now. And it's a lot
Yes.
of issues going on. So tell us, what are you going to concentrate on your campaign?
The things I think that are most critical right now are crime. We definitely, especially in the Austin area, we need to get a grip on crime. We're starting to see a problem with homelessness. I lived downtown, so I firsthand have witnessed that. They've cleaned it up a little bit, but we still do long-term solutions for that. So definitely crime. It's escalating at an alarming rate here. The border, we need to secure our border. We've just got to secure our border. And then one of my biggest frustrations in dealing with COVID is how businesses were locked down. The I sold my business in of 2019. It was a thriving cafe 2 blocks from the state capitol. And I sold it to a family from California. They came here to have their American dream. It was a thriving cafe. COVID hit, and 6 to 8 months later, that business was shut down. They couldn't sustain it because of all the lockdowns. What a tragedy to define people as non-essential and essential workers. I just don't even understand that concept. Um, they lost everything. I think that the direction the country's going, we've got to really make sure that this never happens again.
Jenai, I want to focus on the border because I think we all agree living in Texas that border issues are important. They're important especially for those of us not only along the Rio Grande River that feel the immediate impact of those crossing over uninspected, but then here in urban areas like Houston and to some extent Travis County. But let me ask you, some people have said, one of the ways to curb the illegal immigration flood is to issue, let's just say, 2 million temporary work visas. What do you have to say to that?
I think first and foremost, we need to have a wall. We need to know who's coming in this country. We've got to finish the wall. Um, I think we need to find a path to citizenship for people that are here that don't have criminal backgrounds, but we need to get a grip on this and know who's here and who's coming into our country, because unfortunately, the border is used as an area to bring in drugs, to do trafficking. Um, the Hispanic population that's a wonderful population. I lived down there. My ethnic background, I'm part Hispanic and part Italian. My father came to this country from Italy, and he came here legally. Uh, I understand wanting to come to this country and make a new life. Absolutely, I definitely do. but we've got to do it methodically and safely to protect the citizens that are already here.
Do you think that Congress has gotten lazy with respect to border issues? I mean, the last time that any significant measures were implemented with respect to immigration was 1986. I mean, I don't know of any significant adjustments to our immigration policies since 1986 when Ronald Reagan signed legislation. Has Congress gotten lazy?
I wouldn't use the word lazy. I think the biggest problem we have going on right now is the way the Democrats have strategically tried to just put everything in the racism category, and everybody, I think, has gotten afraid to state their real opinion on things. Saying we want a wall and saying we want border security is not racist. It's not racist at all. It's just the reality of the situation. It's not saying that people from other parts of South America or other countries are bad, but unfortunately, you know, the expression one bad apple can spoil for the whole bunch. Well, that's unfortunately what has happened on occasion, and for that reason, we need to protect our border. So I think they've allowed themselves to get into this trap of not wanting to do the right thing.
Jenai, you were talking about the homeless situation in your area, and you know I love Austin. It's beautiful, but I've been seeing a big significant change from 10 years ago till now. The last time I went, it was last year, and I was impressed, and impressed in a bad way. I was in shock of seeing the beautiful downtown full of homeless and tents. So, what is your thoughts about that to try to solve that situation?
Well, they've cleaned it up a little bit because of Governor Abbott. Really, there's still work to be done. I think we need long-term solutions instead of solutions that are what I would refer to as just kicking the can down the road. In my opinion, allowing homeless people to camp on the sidewalk versus camping out in the woods is actually less humane. And that's what Greg Casar, his solution, he's the likely Democrat opponent that I would have if I were to win the primary. He was the one that was behind rescinding the camping ban. And we finally got it. They put that on the ballot in May and passed the camping ban again. And it's helped a little bit, but we still have a problem. We need to find housing. We need to not have one of the largest homeless shelters in Austin downtown, 1 block from 6th Street. Many homeless people have drug problems, and having them a block away from bars and other activities that are, quite frankly, too much of a distraction for them, where they would possibly have access to these things, is not the solution. You know, San Antonio has a wonderful program, Haven for Hope. They have a facility on the outskirts of town. They have housing for them, job training, all kinds of real long-term solutions. That's what we need to focus on, the long-term solutions, not just allowing them to go from the woods to camping on a sidewalk. That's inhumane.
I think the whole issue of homelessness is due to, I think you describe it as inhumane. Again, it is the deinstitutionalization of people that need help in the most dire way, that are affected with mental health issues and substance abuse issues. Unemployment is a temporary and transient issue, and of course we should help them through the Workforce Commission in the state of Texas. But I submit to you as a veteran that the bulk of the issues are mental health and dependency issues. And for society to cast these folks out in the street and then figure out, well, where it is they should camp is inhumane. I agree with you. And I think, again, the federal government, with all the money they throw around, ought to start focusing on programs that assist those. And if they need to be in a safe place that provides shelter, a meal, some health care for them, and they call those institutions. Well, that may be, but they're organizations that help people. But for Congress to turn its back on those folks, to me, is inhumane. I think you hit the nail on the head. Jenai, I'm going to have to run because I have, again, as I told Andrea, I don't know why we're scheduling all these board meetings, but I am on a board. And today we are meeting at noon, so I'm going to let Andrea take over the rest of the program. We do thank you for coming. But while I'm stepping away, I'd like for you to just give us a geographic description of the 35th Congressional District. Where is it located? How big is it?
It runs through a few counties. It's in Austin and San Antonio. So if you picture the map, downtown Austin, close to 35 is they have Rainey Street. It's become quite popular. The district begins at Rainey Street, which is right at 35, and it goes all east as far north as 290, and it comes kind of around as far as close to Taylor, Texas. So it encompasses Manor, and then it comes back down almost like a half circle to Lockhart. And when you come, it runs straight down 35 through Kyle, Buda, San Marcos, New Braunfels. And then when you get to San Antonio, it's again kind of like a half circle. It's central and parts of central and south San Antonio. It's quite a big district.
It's very, very big. And how's the demographic when it comes to the population?
The demographic, right under 70% Hispanic and 25% white, 10% black, and the remaining other. The demographic, I think the average income is around $6,000, so it's blue collar area. These are people that need good paying jobs. And there again, that's why I'm very passionate about this district, because the likely Democrat opponent is about as far left as you can get. To give you an example, AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, here to do a rally in Austin and San Antonio. You can't get any further left than that. Now, the district has a lot, the parts in Austin, it's where Tesla is located. It's where the new Samsung factory. There's a lot of growth in this area. And I think we need someone who's very, very pro-business to keep that growth, to keep these are jobs for this demographic. Tesla's going to bring in about 10,000 jobs. These are jobs that many of these people they're good paying jobs. We don't want to stunt or thwart that growth by having someone who's extremely progressive and not wanting to do things that are going to help grow the area.
Well, talking about jobs and of course opportunities, let's talk about education. That is being a big issue lately, and we're the parents. We're very worried about how public education is going. What is the line that is going? Talking about the left.
Correct. Yes, they're doing all kinds of things that I just, the critical race theory, all these things, spending their time focusing on aren't going to our children. We need strong math skills. We need strong science skills. These are all future. It really disturbs me how the left wants to constantly divide us, to put us into all these subcategories. The example, when you travel, if you go out of the country and you happen to meet someone from the same town as you automatically feel like you have a connection to that person. You don't know them. You just know they're from Austin, Texas. and you're all the way in Naples or Mexico. And if you think about that, you're able to make that connection. If we would focus on our the things that we are, the values we share, all the things that we have in common, instead of putting us all in these subcategories, trying to just take further and further apart, that's what's destroying our country. So the whole critical race theory, I don't agree with. Um, our children's education, I'm very big proponent of vouchers. I think that we need to allow children in socioeconomic areas to be able to have the option and choice to go to some of these other schools. That's how they're going to be empowered. They need choices. And when you create competition, if these children or socioeconomic areas can go to some of the better schools, it's going to force possibly those other schools to rise to the occasion and do better, or that school might get shut down because everybody's going somewhere else. We need to create competition, and the way to create competition is to open the gates and let children go to the they want to go to. I'm the first in my family to have a college education, and it has empowered me so much. But I will say this, I've never taken any government assistance. I've always worked very hard. I'm not looking down on those that do. Sometimes we do need a helping hand. I came from a very, very strong work ethic. I've worked 100 hours in a week over the course of years to accomplish what I needed to accomplish. There's no easy path. There's no easy path, and that's what people need to understand. You have to put the work in to accomplish your goals and dreams. I've been a single mom. I know how tough it is, but I did what I needed to do to take care of my child. So education is the biggest thing I think a person can do to empower themselves.
Let's talk also. I'm checking your website, and you also say you are a fully support to the police, and that's another big issue that we've been facing, not only in your district but everywhere in Texas and in the country. Police are getting shot. They're getting killed. They're being at risk. No respect for them. This movement, the defund the police, and instead of defending the police. How are you gonna address that issue?
Well, I fully support the police. I mean, especially given my background. If we can see what's happened after COVID and all the defunding the police movement, it's created chaos. And what is the saddest and most unfortunate thing is, there again, it's impacting the lower socioeconomic population, because they're the ones that need the police the most. Mm-hmm. Someone who has higher income can live in the gated community, can have the protection they need. The lower socioeconomic population needs it the most. They're the ones that need the Second Amendment right the most. So the whole defund the police movement, if anything, we should increase the budget. I'm not saying, I would have to look at numbers. I'm not saying that right off the bat we need to do that. But I understand the thought process of wanting mental health care workers to handle some situations. We don't always need the police for certain 911 calls, because it's not always, often for a homeless person, for example. If someone is reporting an issue like that, this is a person who's just a homeless person. They're not violent, but they're causing a disturbance. They need a mental health care worker to come on scene. For sure, they probably have PTSD from being on the streets or from being a veteran. I know how that is. I had PTSD for many years after my attack, and I was fortunate to get some really, really good therapy for that. But that's why I say, if anything, increase the budget, because I can see how we need more mental health care workers to assist, but reducing the amount of police is not the answer. We need to
Mental
keep
health
our
issues
streets safe.
is another very, very important thing that we need to address for sure. And at the also at the school levels, we've been seeing, I mean, lately we've been seeing more teenagers and kids getting involved in crimes. I don't remember seeing that often 10, 20 years ago in this country. And it's like getting out of control.
It's getting out of control. And I think COVID has exacerbated the mental health crisis. Being locked down, what, someone older, it was horrible for everyone. But as we get older, most of us develop coping mechanisms. Younger teenagers, they don't have the coping mechanisms we have. They haven't had the time to develop them. And to be locked down and isolated for so long, I think suicides went up last year 28%, and drug use went up because we're unfortunately choosing the wrong coping mechanism. And it has exacerbated the problem. And we really need to just turn this all around. I have empathy. Mental health is very near and dear to my heart. Like I said, when you're almost raped and murdered, you will get PTSD from that. And when I got my ovarian cancer, I realized it never really dawned until I was in that moment of wondering if I was going to die, that you PTSD from very severe illness. And after I got well from my cancer, I said to myself, I'm going to tackle this PTSD that I have, because there are some good therapies. I did what's referred to as uh, EMDR therapy. They use it for veterans quite a bit. And I literally had 10 sessions, and I no longer, I will always have some form of PTSD, but it no longer controls me. And so I think that we need to a lot of exposure to the different really good therapies tackle these problems. And
Yeah,
I
I
think a lot of
think the lockdown was trying to protect us from the virus, but I think now we're facing a worse pandemic than COVID-19. We're facing the pandemic of people zero tolerance and crime and mental issues, and we're social media is not helping at all either. So we have a lot of things that now. Not only us we need to deal with, but now people that are running for office have to address. And it's difficult because the last 2 years everything changed the game.
It's unfortunate. I especially feel for children that were just starting school when the pandemic hit, and all of them, because their first reference point is complete chaos and isolation in their first years of starting school. How do you change that? It's going to take a lot to over all the isolation that these children have had to endure, because they don't have the coping mechanisms that some adults have, because it just hasn't developed. So we're going to have to really work hard to overcome all of this. And we can never do this again. We cannot allow this again. I understand COVID exists. I completely do, and I understand viruses. I took virology in college, and I understand that certain viruses can be very deadly. We've learned, as I suspected, that, as the CDC has said, the majority, over 75%, died from COVID had 4 or more comorbidities. And that's often the case. And it's often the case with the flu too. If you are already sick or immunocompromised, something like this is going to be very challenging for you. But shutting down the entire some people lost their whole livelihood. How do they rebound from that? Their businesses were shut down. The concept of an essential and non-essential worker, I can't even comprehend that. So I think that we need to understand all these things and are problem solvers and can turn this around. My background, I have, the biology degree. I understand science. If someone were to ask me if I believed in the science, I challenge them. Absolutely, I'm a science major. I've built businesses. I've been a single mom. I've been a cancer survivor. I know what it is to have to work hard, dig in deep, and really get over some adversity and struggle that we have in our lives. But it can be done. I want to be the positive voice. It can be done. There's a path to success for everyone.
Yeah, we have an expression in Spanish that it say el remedio puede ser peor que la enfermedad, meaning the remedy or the medicine could be worse than the disease by itself. So I think that's what is we've been seeing the consequence on the lockdown with this virus, and we need to change many things. Not only and we don't only need to address the mental issues, but we need to address the lifestyle of people. We need to start at home, taking care of our kids, giving them the right food, not poisoning them with sodas and junk food, because we're not doing anything good to them. It's not good for the brain. It's not good for the body. And I think that's what it play a big role here in this pandemic. Whoever has stronger immune system survived it and go through this disease or virus easier than other people. So, Jenai, well, we're running out of time. Please tell us how we can help you, support you, and I don't know if you have another contenders that you're going, I mean, in the primaries, or you're the only candidate. So tell us about that.
So there are about, I believe it's 8 others running in the Republican primary. So the best way to help, really, we need to raise money to get my name out there and reach everyone through different marketing avenues, texting, social media, radio. That's really the best way, because the more I can get my name out there, the more I can get out there and speak, is really the best way to reach everyone and increase the chances of me securing the Republican primary. On the Democrat side, like I said, the likely winner, it will be probably Greg Casar. There's 4 on the left side, but he's raised a tremendous amount of money. So I the likely winner, and we really need to make sure that somebody with the right skills and background can challenge him. And I think a female business person, I was a single mom, all the different things, background that I have that have brought me to this moment now. I really think that I am the best person to really challenge him. He's never run a business. He's never done anything other than work as city council member. So I think that I have the best chance. And so I need to raise as much money as I can to get my name out there. And the website is Jenai4Texas.com.
Yeah, we're posting your website. And of course, I believe that in your website, we can find your social media. Yes, I'm seeing it here. So people need to, start following and getting to know you and supporting you, not only with donations, but just go out and vote. That's the most important thing. So I want to remind everybody that we're still in early voting till this Friday, February 25th. And the elections, the primaries, is going to be next Tuesday, March 1st. So it's very, very important to get involved. It's very important to vote, because if we don't vote, we cannot complain who is running our city, our county, and our state, and our country. So that's very important. Well, Jenai, thank you so much for being with us and to share your story. And for running for office, because we know that coming from business, running for office is, it's passion, it's time, it's you're dedicated to the community.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And thank you, everybody, also for joining us today, also in TLC Live. Please also visit our website, texaslatinoconservatives.com, texaslatinoconservatives.com. And we also need your support. And also we need for you to become a member. It's only $35 a year, or make a bigger donation, because everything that we do, this show and all the classes in Leadership Latino, that also we're teaching people how to run for office, how to be a public speaker, everything from A to Z when it gets to involves in the community and running for office. We help you through Leadership Latino. So, and that's at no cost for you, but it costs for us. So that's why we need your help. Also, I want to remind you to go to our website and look for the link on or our next event, which is in April 5th in San Antonio, as Orlando said at the beginning. That is our Tough Tejano Awards. So please join us in San Antonio, April 5th. We're going to be there. It's going to be a launch. It's going to be very, very excitement day. And, well, just visit us at Texas Latino Conservatives, y los veo el próximo miércoles. Chao, chao.